We made some really good strides in the fall and in the spring. We would have liked to have had better results in terms of win-loss record. At the same time, we overcame a number of obstacles, including injuries that made it challenging throughout the course of the season to stay as consistent as we ended up doing. But getting to know the players and helping the players get a sense of what my expectations were and our coaching staff's expectations and who we were happened pretty quickly. And that was the thing that I was concerned about the most going into the fall, is how quickly can the players and coaches get to know each other and then buy into where we were headed. So in terms of those expectations, yes, I feel that we reached them pretty quickly in the fall. There are things that you can't always anticipate coming into a program, and many of the things that I was pleasantly surprised about that I hadn't anticipated in terms of the large amount of support that the athletics department and the baseball program get from the university and the students here, and the outstanding support that the athletics department gives to each team, and the closeness between the coaches on the coaching staff in the department, and then also the support that we got from the students was something that I hadn't anticipated, that I really appreciate looking back. What I was most impressed with throughout the season was the resiliency of the team, and how consistent they were in some of the efforts that we were making on and off the field. And those two things go hand in hand, and then when you're dealt with setbacks in the course of a game or throughout the season, you're more able to deal with them and be successful. And so there were a number of things that our guys made really good effort from the beginning of the season to the end of the season, whether it was buying into our offensive approach, our approach that our pitchers were taking, and then trusting that those approaches were going to produce results, both in individual players' adjustments, but then also in the success that we had as a team. A tremendous amount. First, because there's such a great group of guys who are really close with each other and care deeply about Eastern Connecticut and Eastern baseball. And they made the transition from the success that they had under Coach LeBranch to welcoming myself and our coaching staff and embracing what our styles were. And that in itself is something that I really appreciate and have a lot of respect for them for. But on top of that, the joy that they bring to the game and to practice, and how much they care for their teammates was something that I learned a lot from in terms of finding joy in the game and remembering why we play it. And so looking back at what they did for me personally and the relationships that we have, and hopefully what we'll have for the rest of our lives, is something that I'll cherish. And then in terms of the team, they had such great success beginning as freshmen, and were able to carry that through their next 3 years, which is a very difficult thing for a class to do when they have success right away. And so for some of our younger players who came in and can see how our seniors approached the game, whether it was Cole or Nick or Jordan or Jason on the mound, or Dale and Alex and the rest of the group, how they approached every day, and how that helped them be successful throughout the course of the season and for their career. So our goal is to have the junior varsity program be a development program for some younger players as they transition from high school to college baseball, and as the speed of the game and the other challenges that come with the game being played faster pose some challenges for young players to make those adjustments. So that's the first thing, is to get them experience without the pressures of being on varsity, without the time commitment of being on varsity. The other aspect of the JV program that I really like is that it provides players an opportunity to continue playing, even though their aspirations may not be to play on varsity, maybe because they can't make the same time commitment, or because they just don't want everything that comes along with being a member of the varsity team. It also allows for more participation in the baseball program as a whole, and I feel that we do so many good things in this athletics department and on our baseball team that the more people that we can have involved in the team aspect, in the expectations that players work really hard to meet, and how that helps them off the field as well, is an added plus for the university as well. Well, I was impressed most about how quickly that they were able to transition. It's very difficult to do it quickly, and oftentimes it takes freshmen at least a couple of months in the season to make adjustments, and they were able to do it very quickly, but then also to perform really well under pressure. And sometimes over the course of a season, freshmen, either their bodies break down, or they succumb to the consistent pressure, or a combination of things where their performance can sometimes decline throughout the course of the season because they get worn down. And that was the most impressive thing about our younger players and the way that they performed. They were consistent throughout the course of the season. So they benefited a lot from, again, the juniors and seniors and the experience that those guys had early on in their careers, that some of our seniors were able to share with our freshmen for them to learn how to compete at this level early on in their career. We played Worcester on the back end of the spring trip, where we had played an incredibly difficult spring schedule down in Florida. And some of the games didn't go our way, so we were going into the back end of the trip with a losing record, and now facing a very good team. And with Jordan Much on the mound, we played really well behind him defensively, and that gave us the opportunity offensively, where we began to see some of the adjustments we were making as a team at the plate, and played a really good baseball game, where we didn't need to rely on Worcester making mistakes or the ball bouncing our way and getting lucky in order to win that game. And then you fast forward to the end of the season playing Southern Maine in an also very challenging situation where they were ranked 2 in the country. They hadn't lost at home all season. They were hosting the Little East tournament, and they were playing really good baseball. And our back was against the wall because it was a win-or-go-home game. And so that, again, showed the resiliency that I talked about that the team had developed throughout the course of the year. And that had been built over years. You don't just get that overnight. Those were also the 2 healthiest points in the season for the team. And we dealt with so many injuries in the middle of the season that one of the things I'm most proud of with our coaching staff and with the team is the ability to find ways to win baseball games through the course of the season to put us in a fairly good place in the Little East tournament. And that had a lot to do with some of the younger players stepping up and some of the older players kind of managing their injuries, so that we were able to find ways to win against different teams. But the season was ultimately bookended by 2 really big games, beating Worcester, that was 1 in the country, and then later on Southern Maine. Well, I'd like for us to build on the approach that we've been taking. And while we made some adjustments this past year, we still realize that we're still standing on the shoulders of the teams of the past, and the system that Coach LeBranch had put in place, and that we've adopted and made some adjustments to, and now we need to continue to build on. And in sports and in baseball, the consistency at which you apply your work ethic and making adjustments and performing fundamentally is ultimately what separates the great teams from the good teams. And that's what we're aspiring toward, and that's what we need to do. And that there were some really good successful points this season, but now we need to find ways to be more successful consistently. And that begins with the discipline that we have in practice, the discipline in the way that we treat our bodies, and the strength program, and the sleep that we get in our nutrition, how we do academically and off the field, and how we carry ourselves as students on campus, all of that plays into ultimately how you perform in the season. And so those are all the things that we're going to work toward next year, combined with bringing in new players who need to learn our culture and how we do things, and at the same time fill some major voids of the departing seniors, a class that had been very successful here. The two biggest differences would be the number of games that we play in the Little East compared to the NESCAC. The NESCAC plays 36 games, whereas we play a 40-game regular season schedule. In those, just those 4 games make a big difference because it's one more game a week. The way that we approach the weekend series is different because in the Little East we play a 2-game, 9-inning series, whereas in the NESCAC we play 3 games, 2 are in 9 innings, 1's 7. And so the 3 versus 2 game difference is a major difference. The pitching in the Little East, from my experience in the past year, is significantly stronger than what I saw in the NESCAC overall. There's much higher velocity in terms of the starting pitchers in the Little East, at least in the weekend conference series. And that makes a major difference, not only in terms of how you need to compete, but then also how your hitters develop throughout the course of the season, what they're ready for in the tournament. And then you look at the success that Little East teams have had in the NCAA tournament, and you know that they're quite well prepared to hit any pitching that they're going to see at the national level, because they're so well prepared by seeing good Little East pitching on conference weekends. Well, first, I'm really excited to see all the guys again. I'm going through a little withdrawal right now, in that we're fortunate to spend so much time with each other in the fall, and that's probably the other major difference between coaching in NESCAC and the Little East is the difference in the fall season. And so we were able to build strong relationships between the players and the coaches, and then the season ends and you stay in touch with each other, and you might see guys from time to time as we kind of cross through the state recruiting high school players, but also seeing some of our guys play summer ball. But you miss being around the team. So that's the first thing that I'm really looking forward to. In terms of the expectations, it's just simply that we continue working really hard to get better and have an organized system to do that. In this past year, we found the system that works for us, and we had to make some adjustments in the fall and in the spring in terms of my management style and how the players practiced and competed, because we're dealing with an entirely different group of players and culture. And so hopefully now that we've gotten a sense of what works for this team, that we continue practicing that in the fall and in the spring, and then take a consistent approach in doing that.